Hello, my yarn smithing lovelies. Welcome once again to my studio here in central UK. It's very, very cold outside. So, for those who haven't seen me before, I'm Simon Henry, and this is where we gather to talk all things yarn craft. So, today, something a bit special, another yarn find. You know that I search the interweb and all that kind of stuff to bring you the very best yarns, both in quality and in value. So we've got something very special for you today. Also, we've got a bit of hate again. I say keep it coming because it gives me something to talk about at the end of the video. So honestly, it's fine. But first of all, I want to thank Flexispot for sponsoring today's video. So I'm going to see you after this. Anybody who watches the channel regularly will know that I very rarely recommend products directly to you. However, fairly recently, my friends over at Flexispot sent me a new desk, and the space here in the studio at home is very small, and I do quite a lot of different things. So I record in here, I quite often use the sewing machine in here, and I quite often use the knitting machine in here. I use a t-shirt press, I use a laser cutter, I use all kinds of things in here in a very small space. And to facilitate that, what I often have to do is move one table out and move another table in, because they're all at different heights depending on what I'm working on that day. So when Flexispot offered to send me this height adjustable desk, I thought, you know, we'll have a go. So literally, it's changed the way I work, quite literally. I don't know why I've not had one before. The thought never crossed my mind. Rather than keep moving desks in and out, find one that I can adjust. So when the parcels arrived, it arrived in 3 separate parcels at different times, which actually was really handy for me because the hallway here to the studio, which is at the back of the house where the garden room is actually quite small. So that was actually very useful for me. What it appeared when I opened the parcels was it's because of the way that they pack things. Everything is beautifully packaged. It all comes in foam. The desk has got corner protectors on, the desktop rather, has got corner protectors on. Everything was beautifully done. I knew straight away that this was a quality item. So when it came to putting it together, I got the instructions out and had a look, and I thought, well, it can't be that straightforward, surely. So literally pretty much everything is already together. All you've got to do is put the brackets on the end of the crossbar, screw that to the desktop. The holes are already drilled for you, even though there is an option. You order the desk top separately, so there is an option you can use your own, but obviously then you're going to have to drill your own holes. But on this particular one, the holes are already drilled. You can choose your size as well. There are different sizes, and the bracket that comes from underneath that is adjustable at the time of fixing it on. So the legs were in a separate box that were already put together. You just literally slot them in, put and tighten the screws. That was done. Then you put the feet on. Then you attach the control panel. Again, the holes are already there for you to do that. And there's holes on either side of the desk, so you can choose which side you want the control panel on. Mine's here on the left-hand side. Then you plug all the leads in. It's very intuitive. They go in really easily. There's a cable tidy, which I think is a brilliant idea. There's no screws or anything. It's magnetic, really, really quick to do. There is also a cable tray that goes on the back of the desk that comes with it. I chose not to use that, and that's mainly because I'm going to be using this desk for lots of different applications, so that doesn't actually suit my needs. You can choose whether to add that or not to add that. So then flipped it upside down. This has so far taken about 20 minutes. That's all it's taken. Flip the desk the right way round with the help of husband. You're going to need some help for that because it is very heavy. This is a really solid piece of kit. And I thought, well, again, it can't be that easy. Push the button and it worked. So one, it's really quiet. Two, this thing holds up to 160 kilos. That's heavier than me. That's going some. That's a weighty piece of kit. Some of the equipment I use in here, so for example, the knitting machines, one of them especially, is extremely heavy. The t-shirt press is very heavy. So it needs a solid piece of kit to hold that. This more than looks after those things. So this more than holds the weight of anything that I've got here in the studio, and it looks really nice. Nobody ever comes in it but me, but it is nice when you walk in, and it looks really professional and lovely. So I'm going to use this for filming on, because I can adjust the height and everything fits. I'm going to use it for machine knitting. I'm going to use it for sewing. I'm going to use it when I'm using the t-shirt press. I'm going to use it for the laser cutter. All of the things that I would normally need a different table for each one, all of those things will I'll be using this desk for. Thank you, Flexispot, for sending me this. It's marvelous. It has changed the way that I work. So you'll find if you pop over and have a look on the website, it's been up here all the time. If you pop over and have a look, you'll see that for Black Friday they've got some incredible deals over there. There's 10% off site-wide with this code. I'm going to leave that in the description as well, so you can go there and have a little look at that. And you'll see that over the space of Black Friday days, it's more than one day now, there are different deals every day that are really worth looking at. The website's lovely. So many different things on there. When I went and had a look, I was thinking, oh, I could do with that. Oh, I could do with that. So there might be a few more sales coming this way. So really, if you want to change the way you work, like I've done, give this desk a go. I promise faithfully you won't be disappointed. And everybody who watches the channel and knows I wouldn't be recommending this to you unless I thought it was really worth it. So honestly, guys, go over and have a look. Seriously, this desk has changed the way I work completely. So really it is well worth going to have a little look. So I've been trolling the interwebs to find something a bit special for you in the yarn category this week. And I had one or two comments, people saying to me, you know, why do I keep bringing bargains and, you know, cheap things, and it's what people want to see. I'd bring you what you want to see. So one or two asked if I could have a look at something a bit more high end, but also people have been going on about you know, buying wool and not knowing where it's come from and all of those kind of things. So I thought, in order to address that, I'm going to have a little look and see what there is. So I contacted my friends at Blacker Yarns. I'm going to put the website up there for you, and just to see what they'd got and if they'd got anything that answered the brief with what I'm looking for. So they sent me a skein, or we call it a hank, of this, which it really is something extremely special. And this is it's 100% wool. However, it's spun from a mixture of wool and the fibres that are left over in the factory. So it's using up pretty much everything. Nothing gets thrown away. And they only spin wool there, so it's 100% wool. This is the colour in its natural form. It's not been dyed. This is Aran weight. And let's have a look and see how much it is. For 100 grams, it's £16.90. So it is on the pricey side. It says knits to 4.5mm needle. I actually found it was actually a bit better on a 5mm needle if I'm doing something a bit denser, like you know, a cable Aran stitch pattern. So let me have a look about it. Blacker Yarns, pop to their website, have a little look, because they really are way up there in regards to, you know, the ethics and sustainability, all of the things. They've put that these days we are deeply concerned about the climate, global warming and pollution levels, and we know this is one reason why many customers go there for their natural fibres. And it says that they continue to look for more ways to meet the commitment to produce eco-friendly and ethical products and care for the environment. They want to reduce their carbon footprint, and that in mind they've designed this range, which is called Flocked Off. I love the name. It's spun from 50% mill byproducts from their own mill, and this is blended with 50% new British wool, and it says this reduces both transport costs and emissions, and they've also maintained the high quality of the wool, and for this you know, it meets everybody's concerns regarding that. And it says they to you know, look at the details even further. Even the ball band, the label, it's printed on 100% recycled paper, and it's mailed out in compostable packaging. So they really have thought you know, about all things. Let me see what I can find. So I think that when I knitted a bit of it up, I'd actually bought from them before. I didn't realise actually that I'd already got this in ball form in the stash. So I knitted a bit of it up to see how it knit, and you can really tell it's at the high end of the market. They know where the fleece has come from. They only deal with sheep farmers who really look after their animals. Really pop and have a look and see if you're interested. I know it's on the pricey side, but if you're going to knit something really special, every now and then I want to just sit down and really do something what I consider high end, and I want to take my time. I want to enjoy the whole process, and part of that is using, you know, very high end yarns. And you know, if you're concerned about the animals, if you're concerned about the environment, and you want to go a bit high end, this honestly ticks all the boxes. So pop over and have a little look. Thank you to Blacker Yarns for sending me that. I'll order a little bit more to go with it, and you know, make something up. I'll show it you when I've done. So a few weeks ago, I don't know if you remember, I told you about this from Temu, which is their Merino number 5, which is beautiful. It really is. I think it's something like 90% merino, 10% acrylic. And it's gorgeous. It really is gorgeous, and it knits up beautifully. And people said to me, you know, are you knitting anything up, and what are you doing? So I'm actually doing a little jacket with pockets and things in it. But the reason I'm showing this is because if you've been following all of the videos, you'll see that I've started to do a small series that are teaching people how to knit. I've had quite a few people recently, because there seems to be an upsurge and a re-interest in people starting to knit, and interestingly, especially men, who've said to me, would I please show them how to knit? So I put the first video out just for that, and on the first video it's just how to cast on and how to do the basic knit stitch. And I know we're probably leaning over into the hate a little bit here, because I had people say, a couple especially, you know, you're showing people the English way to knitting, and that's not correct. Why? And then one woman, what I tried to do on the video was make it as easy as possible and as less complicated as possible. I wanted to take all the mystery out, and I wanted to give people the confidence to have a go. So I didn't want to overcomplicate things. And if you go and have a look at the video, you'll see what I mean by that. So this person said, you know, that the English way of knitting is not correct. You should wrap the yarn 3 times around your index finger and once around your pinky finger. You know, and you should only knit the continental way, because that is the correct way, and the English way isn't the correct way. And she went into great detail, and I thought, you know, she is one of the ones that I was talking about for people trying to overcomplicate it. And it's almost like she was trying to put people off having a go at knitting, and I thought, that's really nasty. That isn't very nice at all. And she said that it is impossible to maintain correct tension when you are knitting the English, in brackets, incorrect way. So I knit the English way, and as you can see here, look, it's impossible for me to maintain tension. You can see the tension is absolutely dreadful. This is before it's been blocked or anything, and look how dreadful my tension is. Look how uneven those stitches are. I should probably have a go now, because you can see I'm knitting on square needles, and clearly that's not correct either. But anyway, I thought I'd show you what I'm knitting with Merino number 5. This is lovely. You know, if you want to be at the other end of the market to this, go and have a look. Go and have a look at that. So this week on the other video, I'll be doing pearl stitch and cast off for anybody that's following that, and we'll see how much nonsense I get over that. So I think apart from the nasty comments, I think that's probably it. So if you're going to leave us here, please like and subscribe, pop over and have a look and see what we're doing on Patreon. We're just about to have a little go at Tunisian crochet soon. I think we're going to do gloves first. We're going to knit, we're just knitting socks, and we're going to knit some gloves. Then we're all going to have a little go together of Tunisian crochet. So say pop over and have a look at that. Talking of ethics and things, last week, if you remember, one of the questions at the end was about reselling garments or selling garments that are made from a designer's pattern. A lot of designers, and I'm one of them, do put on the end of a pattern that you can knit it as many times as you like for personal use. So you can gift it, you can do all kinds of things with it. What you need a separate license for is if you want to sell that for profit. So if it's your business, if you're making a living or an add-on income out of knitting for other people, then you need a separate license if you're using my patterns to do that. So we had somebody that wrote in that thought I was a dreadful person for thinking, how on earth should I do that? And she says that the people who crochet have found a way round that. I don't know what that finding their way round actually is, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But in the meantime, I asked, I'm very fortunate because I write and because I deal with pattern companies and I've had work published and all that kind of stuff. I do have access via the Writers Guild of Great Britain to all kinds of legal advice, and I had a little ask over there to see what the real answer to it was, and they directed me to actually the government website. So if you go on the government website and look on there about copyright and the law regarding copyright, there's a whole page about knitting patterns, which I was quite interested to find. So obviously other people are having a similar problem. So it appears you're in breach of copyright if you copy that knitting pattern and then sell the pattern on. That is in breach of copyright. You're not actually in breach of copyright if you knit something from that pattern and then sell that on. That's not a breach of copyright law. However, it says here on the government website, this is a UK government, laws in different countries are different. It will say that it is often the case that the designer / author of the pattern will have included terms and conditions with that pattern, limiting to what use may be made of a finished article. Those terms commonly specify that the pattern is licensed or sold on the basis that it's only for personal and for non-commercial uses. This means that you may give it as a gift, you may use it yourself. But if you sell an item that is made from that pattern that includes those words at the end, you will actually be in breach of contract law. You buy the pattern on the understanding that by buying that pattern you're actually entering into a contract, and that contract states that you're not allowed to use that pattern commercially. So you couldn't knit up for a shop and sell things in a shop, etc. You couldn't really go on the have a website that says that you'll, knit those patterns up for people for a certain amount of money, you're actually in breach there of contract law and may be prosecuted as such. Some things in there, it's a bit vague, but things there are actually breaking the law, and you may be prosecuted and charged under the law for doing such things. There are other things that add on to the top. So, for example, if you knit a pattern and then you put on, for example, The Simpsons or something Disney or whatever the pattern, and then sold that, you're actually in breach of copyright law there. So it's a bit difficult. It's not easy. Have a look at the site and see what you think about it. That's from a legal point of view. From an ethical point of view, I honestly think that if you ask the designer, for example, if somebody said to me, I've got one of your knitting patterns which I bought, and my friend would like me to knit something for her, and obviously it takes a lot of my time and she wants to pay me for doing it, is that okay? I would say, yeah, absolutely, yes, that's fine. If somebody came to me and said, I've got one of your patterns which I bought, the shop down the road wants me to knit 10 of them to sell in their shop, for which I will be paid, a commission or whatever, then no, that is going a step too far. Ethically and morally, to me, is different to legally. Quite often those things are different. For example, over on my Patreon site, over there, I've told everybody who's a member over there and remains members, they're free to use any of my patterns that are listed on there and available to them for whatever they want. If they want to sell them, they're more than welcome to do so, because they're paying me a fee every month for those patterns, which I consider like a license fee, if you like, and they're more than welcome to use those things. I've had a couple of people on there, I think when I counted and looked at it, I think there were 4 people on there that went on there, paid 1 month membership, which works out like £1 a week, downloaded all of the patterns, and then cancelled their membership. So it's a cheap way of getting the patterns, and I've probably just given half of you the idea. Let's go on to Simon's site and have all of his patterns for £4. Nothing I can do about that. That's okay. You can do that. You're not breaking any rules by doing that. If you sell those things commercially, then yes, you are breaking some rules, because the license is only while you're members there. But for your own use and everything, that's fine. Legally, it's okay. Ethically and morally, I think you're a bit of a shit. Do the nasty. Download all the patterns and then sod off. Honestly, I never gave it a thought that people would do such a thing. Honestly, it never crossed my mind. However, let's move on. Let's move on from there. If you're staying for the hate, a couple of things this week. One that I really thought, it really made me giggle. This woman was talking about the fact that sometimes the thumbnail that you click on is AI generated. What we do when we upload videos is we can put 3 thumbnails out, and YouTube will test which one gets the most clicks, and then they'll put that up there, because that's good for us, it's good for YouTube, it's good for everybody, puts the videos out to more people. So this particular one actually was an AI generated image that had kind of smoothed out my skin and all kinds of stuff. and she said, I clicked on your video thumbnail because I thought to myself, what a handsome man. And this good-looking man is obviously knitting. I'm going to click on that and give it a go. Can you imagine my disappointment when I clicked on the thumbnail and you appeared upon my screen? Oh dear. Thank you very much, my darling. Thank you. I have actually popped over to your site and I've had a look at your picture. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be horrible. I'm not going to be nasty at all. However, you can pop to the beauty salon and get some, laser or electrolysis on that top lip. I find it works. It works very well. Ooh, shady. That was shady, wasn't it? That was. So anyway, that was that. I thought that was funny. It made me titter. So back to the thing that came last week. I wasn't sure, if I was regarding it as hate or not. I don't think she meant it as hate when she was talking about, why can't designers just give their patterns away? However, she answered this week. She actually put, it was me that made this original comment, so she's kind of owned up to it on the chat. And she said, I was looking for a solution that presents design abuse but actually boosts designers' visibility. Me giving away my patterns for people to use commercially, because that's what she was talking about. Okay, people, it might increase my visibility, but it don't pay the electric bill, does it? So, fine. And she actually puts, no one should be selling on designers' patterns. That's actually not what was in question. The question was, should people be allowed to buy a pattern and then knit up garments from that pattern and sell them commercially without the proper license? She put that here, crochet patterns go viral because of the sheer number of crocheters making multiples from one pattern purchase. Right, again, how does that do the designer any good? How does that, make us want to do more of those? Don't understand. And when you say that, she puts at the bottom, the crochet community has found a solution, so why can't the knitting community? Please explain to me what that solution is and what the solution would be for me. This is my job. This is how I earn my living. This is how we put food on the table. How can we do that to keep everybody happy? And like I said, it's never been in question for me. People can knit for their, for their friends, for whatever. And if they want to give you a shilling for doing it, fair enough. What I don't want you to be doing is selling on markets and selling in shops patterns that you've made up from my designs, that you seem to think that that's perfectly acceptable. She actually then put one thing, and it kind of made me cringe a bit. It kind of made it so that, I really don't think that she understands what goes into designing a pattern. She put, knitters with even a small skill base can knock off knitting patterns and not buy the patterns at all. So design and writing and editing and grading patterns only requires a very small skill base, does it? So I don't quite know how I feel about that. Take the one of the last things that I did for the Patreon site was an all over cable design based on traditional Aran, even though it wasn't traditional Aran, that was shaped V-neck with setting sleeves and saddle shoulders that the pattern matched all the way round, and then graded into 5 sizes. Have a go. Let's have a look at your patterns. And in fact, do it. Write that pattern and edit that pattern and publish that pattern. And then what I'll do is I'll buy the pattern. I'll give you a one-off payment, and then I'll put it in my shop. I'll sell it commercially. I'll sell those designs commercially and see how you think when you've spent months working on stuff. I might have got you completely wrong, but I can only go by what you're actually writing. And, you know, that was the bit. I was actually right on your side until knitters with even a small skills base can knock off knitting patterns and not buy that pattern at all. Might be a bit up myself. Who knows? Anyway, be interesting to see what everybody thinks. You know, the ones out there who either write or edit or grade, because a lot of people don't realise that as well. We do in the industry have like the original designer who'll come up with the, you know, the design and the concept and all that kind of stuff. You know, then we've got the pattern writer who'll write the pattern. Then we've got people who grade it, and they grade the pattern into all the different sizes. When you see the numbers in the brackets, you know, all that has to be worked out. All that has to then go to test knitters to make sure that each size works. Then it goes to a pattern editor to make sure that we've written it all correctly, you know, and it all makes perfect sense. All that goes out before it's gone out. You know, a huge amount of work. And so quite often, you know, we have different people doing all of those things that are working on several things all at the same time. I might do a whole video one day on the whole process, and I'll introduce the people that do all these things. So that was me having a little rant. It's been lovely being with you again. Thank you very much to Flexispot for sponsoring today's video. Thank you to Blacker Yarns for sending me a hank or skein of yarn to have a look at. I promise I will do something with that at some point, but obviously one hank isn't really enough to do very much with. And in the meantime, like and subscribe. I've said before, really does help out the channel. We're rapidly approaching 6,000 subscribers now. I don't know how that's happened, with nearly 250,000 views. I'm amazed, honestly, and thank you everybody who does. Keep the comments coming, and in the meantime, look out for part 2 of the How to Knit video this weekend. And in the meantime, happy yarn smithing. Very much love as always, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.